Hello, you're watching the English News Bulletin on VTV International. I'm Hoài Lương, and here are the headlines for this hour. Book on Vietnam's waters and islands published. And China's tourists resume visits to Vietnam. The National Assembly met earlier today discussed the draft law on the organization of the National Assembly. Most of the deputies agreed on the need to change the law to specify the new regulations outlined in the Constitution. They said that the revisions would improve the operation of the National Assembly to make it more practical. Besides increasing the number of full-time National Assembly deputies, deputies also proposed assigning specific tasks to committees in order to increase the Assembly's efficiency and avoid overlapping responsibilities. The Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences, in collaboration with the Institute of Sino-Nome Studies, this morning held a press conference to introduce a book on Sino-Nome documents about Vietnam's sovereignty over the Spratly and Paracel archipelagos and waters in the EC. This nearly 500-page book includes documents and maps, including many original documents that have never been seen by the public before. Documents used in the book were collected from Sino-Nome and foreign languages documents at the Institute of Sino-Nome Studies. The authors of the book claim the documents will serve as legal and historical grounds for Vietnam to confirm sovereignty over the Spratly and Paracel archipelagos. The book will be available in all bookstores and libraries across the country. Many people think that the Coast Guard operating near the illegal Chinese oil rig must consist of veteran officers with vast experience. But in reality, they are a group of young people who are proving their value and cool-headedness in defending the nation's sovereignty.
Captain Đàm Minh Khoa didn't have the opportunity to attend the ceremony where he was awarded a Heroic Youth Medal by the Youth Union. Khoa and his comrades haven't been home since the Chinese illegal install of the oil rig Hai Yang Shuyou 981 in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone. Khoa's ship's Coast Guard vessel 2012 was among the first that was rammed multiple times by the Chinese. But thanks to their cool-headedness, Khoa and his crew didn't respond to the provocation.
We always regard protecting our homeland as our top priority, and maintaining our sovereign waters is like protecting the nation itself. We also believe that we have the support of millions of fellow countrymen, which is a great encouragement to help us fulfill our duties. We place our full faith in officers being posted to our ships. They are young, but they have good educations and comprehensive understanding of the situation. They also have the strength of youth, which makes them perfect for the mission.
The Coast Guard officers are also normal people with their responsibilities. Second Lieutenant Chen Khương Toan was posted on this ship just 2 days after he got married. He hasn't had any contact with his new wife since then.
Before I left, I told my wife to sympathize with me and my duties as a Coast Guard. Although I may be apart from her, my love is always with her.
Lieutenant Đàm Minh Khoa also misses his wife and kids, but his kids' smiles are what kept him motivated. He knows he must complete his task so that they can live in peace.
Vietnam now has about 118,000 fishing vessels, with a workforce of 1 million fishermen, generating $6.7 billion each year. However, 2/3 of those vessels are low-capacity ships, and almost all of them are made from wood. As coastal fisheries resources are declining, Vietnam's Shipbuilding Industry Corporation is trying to produce more metal-hulled vessels.
At Ninh Khơ Port, Nam Định Province, Hai O 1 stands out. It's not only bigger and obviously more modern than the surrounding wooden vessels, but it's also unsurprisingly more efficient.
My boat obviously has greater capacity and endurance, which enables longer fishing trips and more fishing opportunities. It can deal with harsh weather much better as well.
Hai-O boasts a 650 CV engine, 10 times more powerful than its smaller rivals. It can operate at a distance of 200 nautical miles from the shore, and its multiple hulls and decks enable the vessel to continue operations even if the hull is breached.
The fishermen cannot rely on their own funds to finance such vessels. Support from the government is highly needed. The important thing is how can fishermen access such support easily.
Vessels like the Hai-O-1 cost 5 to 6 billion Vietnamese dong, which is well beyond the financial capacity of most fishermen, and loans from banks are limited to several hundred million dong.
The government has recently issued a decision to allow fishermen to use ships built using the bank loans as collateral. That would greatly facilitate their financing.
Therefore, the government's recent support package of tens of billions of Vietnamese dong for shipbuilding has been welcomed by fishermen. The Shipbuilding Industry Corporation had paid for all the design and construction of Hai-O-1, and it is now rented to fishermen with an interest rate of just 0 to 3% per year. From now until the end of the year, 10 such ships are scheduled to be completed and rented to fishermen, helping them maintain their traditional fishing grounds.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
Welcome back to VTV News. The Vietnamese embassy in France recently organized a meetup with overseas Vietnamese in Paris on June the 1st. The meeting attracted Vietnamese researchers and academics currently working in science, economics, social sciences, and education.
At the meeting, Vietnamese ambassador to France, Dương underscored the importance of overseas Vietnamese academics to the development of the nation in the context of increased globalization. At the meeting, many overseas Vietnamese in France also expressed their interest in contributing their professional experiences to the country, as well as their concerns regarding Vietnam's current policies to attract academics.
For the past few decades, I have proposed many strategies to the Vietnamese government to attract overseas Vietnamese academics back to the country. The overseas Vietnamese community has a great potential, but few academics choose to return home. We don't expect high wages when we return, but we'd like the cooperation and assistance from local agencies. There are many overseas Vietnamese academics that have retired, and many young academics hold highly regarded positions in teaching or research. Vietnam needs to attract these people to contribute to the country.
Attendees also opposed China's actions in the East Sea and expressed their desire to give something back to their home country.
Quảng Ninh Northern Province welcomed 4.2 million tourist arrivals in the first 5 months of the year, an increase of 1% compared with the same period last year. The figures included 1.2 million foreign arrivals, an increase of 8% over the same period last year. With the current number of visitors, revenues from tourism over the first 5 months is estimated at 2,400 billion Vietnamese dong, up 13% compared to the same period last year. Over 500,000 tourists visited Quảng Ninh and participated in the Hạ Long Quảng Ninh 2014 Tourism Week in early May. Increased numbers of visitors to localities like Cô Tô, Vân Đồn, and Hạ Long saw revenues from tourism during the Hạ Long Quảng Ninh Tourism Week rise to over 210 billion Vietnamese dong, or $10 million. Now, China's tourists have resumed visits to Vietnam through the Móng Cái International Border Gate in Quảng Ninh province after a pause when China halted custom clearance for Chinese visitors 3 weeks ago. This is seen as a positive sign for Vietnam-China border activities.
Over 100 Chinese visitors using border crossing papers were recently granted custom clearance at Móng Cái International Border Gate.
After recent incidents in the EC, we have instructed all tour guides to maintain neutral and peaceful behaviors towards Chinese tourists. We want them to understand and send our message of peace to all Chinese people when they return.
Vietnam has always been an attractive destination for foreign visitors, with good security and friendly people. Moreover, the local government has ensured the security and safety of foreign tourists visiting the country. This has created confidence for Chinese tourists visiting the country.
Vietnam and China have always maintained close neighborly relations, so that's why I chose to visit Vietnam. When we got here, we can see how the local authorities are doing their best to ensure safety and security for Chinese tourists.
This is the first time I've visited Vietnam. I'm very excited and I think it is a safe country to travel to. I hope more Chinese people can visit Vietnam and Vietnamese people can come to China as well. According to tour operators, Vietnam will see an increase in Chinese visitors as the number of booked tours in the next few weeks has risen. The resumed tours to Vietnam are mainly through the border gates in the northern provinces of Lạng Sơn, Lào Cai and Quảng Ninh.
Japan's All Nippon Airways, or ANA, officially put into service its new Boeing 787 Dreamliner with daily flights on the Hanoi-Tokyo route. ANA is the first airline to operate the new Boeing 787 in Vietnam. The operation of this Dreamliner marks a milestone in the development of the regional aviation industry and enhances the strategic cooperation between ANA and Vietnam's aviation sector. Last year, domestic flights in Vietnam saw a 21.5% year-on-year increase. However, Vietnam's aviation sector will face more challenges when the ASEAN Open Skies Agreement takes effect next year, which will allow ASEAN carriers to fly freely across the region to any airport as often as they want. Prior to the premiere of the 787 Dreamliner route, Vietnam Airlines and the GE Aviation had signed a contract to provide 40 Giàn engines to the Boeing 787 Dreamliner's aviation team, which will take effect next year. And finally, as always, is the updated weather forecast. And that is the end of our news bulletin for this hour. Do log on to vtv4.vn for more updated news. Thank you very much for watching. This is VTV International.